Okay, let's get to the real way to solve these trinomials when we have an a in the front. We have something before the x squared. It's called the AC method, and it's going to be much, much better. Let me see what they've got here. Okay, so here's where the idea comes from. The AC method means like the generic form of this. The A is what's sitting out front of there. The C is what's at the back. So this is where the idea comes from. The AC method. So look at how this works. It's so much better. We're going to multiply this A and the C together and we get the number 12. I'm going to put it over here. Now, this is going to just become the game we've been playing since we learned how to factor. I need two numbers that multiply to get 12 and add to get 7. Okay, well that's 3 and 4, right? They've shown me down here. Now look what I'm going to do. I'm just going to split that middle into these two numbers. Now I haven't cheated. 7x is really 3x and 4x, right? That's the same thing. But I'm strategically picking these two choices because it's going to factor out. And so what I mean here is I now have 4 terms. I'm going to do the GCF for the first two and the GCF for the back two. Okay, well, 3x, and on the back is a 2. All right, well, look, remember how we did this? I've got the match becomes one of them, and everything else goes together to become the second one. So it's called the AC method, and there's no 30 minutes of guessing. It will always work. Now, I have an activity that shows how this is, why this works. It's a warm-up activity, but it's basically just maybe not an intuitive way to factor, but it's just factoring. That's all it is. It's just merging the factors and finding the clever pair that make the magic happen. So again, it may not seem reasonable to you, but it's just a factoring approach. Now, I'm going to show you this one. Again, you can always try on your own if you feel comfortable. The A is the 6, the 2 is the C. So multiply them together, I get 12. Now, I need two numbers that multiply to get 12 and add to get 13. Well, that's the old trickaroo where it's just 1 and 12. Now, take those two numbers and split the middle. It'll actually work either order that you do them. I'm going to choose this one for a reason. Okay, I have just split the middle. They need x's on there. You can't turn them into something with no numbers. They got to have the x's. Now, once you've done the 4 pieces, GCF for the front, GCF for the back. Now I chose this because here's a unique thing that happens. I'm going to take a 6x out of the front. Now on the back, this is why I chose this. You always have to take a GCF, and you look at this and you say, well, there isn't one. We have to take something. And if you take a plus 1, it's not going to hurt anything. You can always take a 1 out of something and it doesn't change a thing. So I have to take something, so I'm taking a 1, and it leaves me with x plus 2. Okay, now I know I did this right because I have my match. I'm not finished though. I'm going to make my match as one of them. Or yeah, my match is 1. Everything else creates the second. Okay, try it on your own if you want. I'm going to dive in here. I would always check this for GCF, but there's not one. So 4 and 3 is 12. Now two numbers that multiply to get 12 and add to get the 8. This is 6 and 2. So we're just going to turn the middle into those two numbers, 6y, 2y, plus 3. They go back together to make 8. Now I've created these 4 terms, so I can do this. GCF for the first two, GCF for the back. So 2y is the best I can do there. Now you see what's going to happen on this back end again. I have to take something, so I'm going to take a 1. I'm going to say plus 1. It leaves me with y plus 3. Oh, wait a minute. What have I done? I'm sorry. Look at what I did wrong. Let me go back. If I take the GCF of a 2y out of there, it leaves me with 2y plus 3. If I take the 1 on the back, 2y plus 3. Now the reason I knew I messed up is because when I was doing the back end, it wasn't a match, so I knew I'd messed up somewhere. But now I've got the match. So the match is one of them. Everything else goes together to make the other one. And I got it. Okay. Are they just doing a really horrible one here? Yeah, there's no GCF. Okay. This one is just brutal. Now, if I do the AC, I get negative 168. Now, there is a trick where you can use, if you have a TI-84, to help you do this. I will try to make a video on that and post that. That will help you go through all the possibilities here. But again, what you could do then, what I would do, so let me show you. I got 168. Now, this is going to be difficult. There's a lot of ways that this could be done. So what I would do, if you're breaking this down into the numbers, I'm going to leave the minus off of it for a minute, and I'm just going to start slicing it down. Oops. Okay, so remember my trick. This is 168 broken into its prime factorization. So I don't give you horrible numbers like this when I make a test, but I don't know where you're going to be seeing this. This is how you would do it. Now I know I had a minus when I really started, so I'm looking for combinations of these 5 numbers. I got to make two different numbers that are going to add together to get negative 17. Any combination will get me the negative 168. That's why these numbers were picked. I need them to add together to get negative 17. So I'm going to need the two opposite signs. Let's see. Yeah, so you could do this for a long time. Again, it gets hard with the bigger numbers, but this is what it turns out to be. If I do 4, 8, 24, if I make this negative 24 and positive 7, I get there. Yeah. Negative 24 and positive 7. So this one is just super difficult, but that's how I would do it. So look, I have it here. And so we can, do they keep going? Now, we're not done. All that was just to find the middle. GCF for the front, GCF for the back. Look, the GCF on the back, it starts with a negative. I think I've told you this earlier. If you ever start with a negative, take the negative along. So I'm taking a negative 3, which then changes all the signs. And now I can put them together. Okay, I don't know how I feel about these huge ones, but let's try one. So if I do my AC here, am I right about this? 10 would be 150, so yeah, negative 300. So I have no idea, so I'm going to break it all the way down. Let me check. So, am I right? 310. Yeah. Okay, now we've got to make plus 13. And we know it's going to have opposite signs because we made it's a negative 300 here. So I've got to do combinations with the opposite signs that are going to make me the 13. Now I have a theory already. So let's see. If I put these two, if I make 25, 6, 12. Yeah, that's it. So in my head, I'm just organizing my choices. So here's what I came up with. Positive 25 and negative 12. I was pretty fortunate that that was my first guess, but I could have kept going through all the possibilities. So just keep rearranging these till you find them. Again, there is a trick on a TI-84, a little program you can make to help you with those. Again, I'll try to make a video on that. Okay, so here's why I did that. I'm going to go in this. Oh, you know what? I want the other order. It will not matter which order you put it. It will work out either way, but I wanted there to be a negative on the back end, so I'm going to do this. So if you choose to put the 25H or the negative 25H, it doesn't matter, it will still work. Okay, so let's do our GCF. On the front end here, I'm pulling out a 5H. Now this is the reason I did it. On the back end, I start with a negative, so I'm going to take a negative 3. Okay, now I have a match, so this was correct. The match becomes 1. Everything else becomes the other. Now I know you're looking at this saying, this isn't easy with these bigger numbers. There's usually not the big numbers, first of all. Like I don't usually do these huge numbers. But the second thing is, this is still better than going through all the options. Look at all the ways you could make 20 on the, you could do 20 and 1, 10 and 2, 5 and 4. You'd have to test all those front ends, and then you'd have to test them with all the different versions of 15, 15 and 1, 3 and 5. This could go on forever, and then there's the opposite signs. So even if you're thinking this doesn't look that great, it's a heck of a lot better than the other alternative. Okay, let's try another one. Let me just see here how many we got. I don't know if there's a twist coming. I don't know. Let's keep working them here. So this is not too terribly bad. Let's see what we get. 6 and negative 20 gets me negative 120, right? Okay, now I'm going to leave the minus out till I get to the end, and you might see this right off the bat. You might be able to just guess this right off the bat. I don't see it, so I'm gonna do my trick. Okay, so I'm breaking 120 down, and I've got this. Now, we're going to have to find combinations. We need we're going to have opposite signs, and we've got to get positive 19. Okay, so let's see what I got here. Okay, so my first try, I'm thinking 15 and 8. That isn't going to work. Let me try 4 and 30. That isn't going to work. So I'm basically just lassoing different groups here until I get it to work. I've got, and I'm not finding it. Maybe you're finding it faster than me. Yeah, I am not finding the right number. Let me double check. 2 and 60. Okay, got to keep going, I guess. I literally cannot find this, so I'm going to pause it here as I work my way through all the choices instead of giving 10 minutes of video. Okay, this literally took me forever. I'm going to show it to you again. So my two numbers, I paused the video and had to work on this, and I went through every combination I could find and didn't feel like I was going to find it, but I finally got there. So, okay, so I've got this. Okay, so I need, now it's going to be opposite signs, so I'm trying to make a positive 19, and so here's what I finally figured out. So if I do this, I've got 4, 8, I got 24, and minus 5. That'll do it. So these will make negative 120 and add to get the 19. So not fun on that one, but I think we got there. Maybe you saw it way before I did. Okay, so now I'm just going to break that middle into this. That says 20. Now the reason I did that, GCF for the first two and the back two. So I'm pulling a 6G out of there. I get G plus 4. On the back, I start with a negative, so I'm taking that out. And do you see how it would change the sign because I pulled the negative? It gets me G plus 4. So now I got the match, so I'm correct. Everything else goes to make the second group. Okay, I don't know what's different about that. I'm assuming it's prime, yeah. So this is how terrible this can be. You could do this, try to work all your way through. This one was pretty easy because there weren't many combinations. But I'm looking for two numbers that make 10 and add to get 6, and it can't be done. So once more we see this one is prime. Just like the number 7 is prime, this polynomial is prime. Alright, I'm not going to go all the way through this because these are not pleasant numbers. I'm sure what you're going to find if you tried to toy with this, you're looking for negative 150, there's no way to make 19. So this is going to be prime. And I'm sure the same here, 3 and 5, 15. That's not prime, I don't think. So let's see here. Can this be done? 3 times 5 makes me the 15. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to get 15. Yeah, I'm not sure why this one's here, because this appears to work. This would just be 5 and 3. So let's see why they've done this. Maybe this is why. Okay. GCF out of the front is a 3u. I get u plus 5. Yeah, here's why. On this back end, remember, we have to take something. Oh no, hold on. Sorry. Go back here, my GCF of the front. I knew I didn't have a match, so I knew something was wrong. My GCF of the front here is a u. So I get 3u plus 5. This may be why they did it. On the back end, remember you have to take something. I already showed you this, but maybe this is their first time showing you this. It's got to be a 1. If you can't take anything else, take a 1. You get this. Now you got the match. You got everything else. That's supposed to be a u. And there we go. Okay. We keep doing more of these. Yeah. This is what I thought was coming too. What we have here is we start it, but there's a GCF. So always take the GCF first. Look what would happen here if you didn't try to take a GCF, which is a 5. You would have been looking at 700, which would be very difficult. So if you pull the 5 out of there, then you're going to be working with 2 times 14 is 28. Much, much, much easier. Okay? So always take a GCF first. Okay, I was just looking to see what we got left here. We're going to pull a GCF out of here, and it is 4. Now, this has reduced the numbers a great deal. Now, 4 is going to be a factor. We're going to need that. But we're going to set them aside for now, and I've got 4 times 3 is 12. I'm doing my AC method now on what's left in here. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so now I need two numbers that make 12 and add together to get negative 8. We're finally back to some nicer things here. So I'm not going to forget about the 4, but I'm just going to work this guy for a second. Just broke up the middle into these two. Okay, GCF. I now have 4 pieces, GCF at the front and GCF at the back. Taking 2x. Now I start with a negative on the back. So do you remember I'm going to take the negative? Okay, but I also don't have anything else to take. Oh my gosh, look, I see that I'm not going to get the match. I messed up again. The GCF out of the front is not, oh no, it was 2x, but I left something out. That's what I should have got when I pulled the 2x out. Now on the back, I'm taking a minus because it starts with a minus, but there's nothing else to take. So I'm taking a minus 1, and I get 2x minus 3. Now I know I did it right because I have my match. My match is 1. Everything else is the other one. And don't forget we pulled a 4 out all the way at the beginning. He's got to come down too. Alright, we got one more here to work. This one may not be intuitive to you. it appears to me, I don't think there's anything better. One thing that can go wrong is you pull out a GCF and it's not the greatest common factor. It is a factor, but it's not the greatest one. So if you ever see what you've got left and it still doesn't seem to make sense, there might be a larger factor you could have pulled. But as I'm looking through here, I'm pretty sure a 3 is my GCF. Let's see if I'm right. 13W plus 6. Yeah, I'm right because of the 13. Okay, so let's do our AC method now on what is left over here. 6 and 6, 36. Now, we need ways to make 36 and to create the negative 13 in the middle here. It's going to be two negatives. So, what is it going to be? Yeah. It's the obvious one. Okay, so they have to be both negative to make 36. So negative 9, negative 4. Now, I leave the 3 off. Don't leave it till the end. You could show this, but I think it's going to make it more confusing as if I tried to write this down like this. So I'm going to, I'm going to leave it out. Now, GCF of the first two and then the back two. I can take a 3W. I got a negative on the back, so I'm taking it. And I can also take a 2. Changes the sign on that back end. Now I've got my match. So I've got 2W minus 3, 3W minus 2. And we had that 3 at the beginning. Don't forget, he is a factor as well. Okay. We'll talk more about strategy, I think, in the coming sections, so I'm going to leave that. So I think you'll agree that the AC method is the way to go. If you're comfortable with guessing all the combinations, that's fine. But when the numbers get much bigger, it's really, really hard. And even though the AC method's got some challenges on big numbers too, it's still a much better option. Okay, well, we will continue with some special factoring patterns in the next lecture, but that's it for now.